there's a discrepancy for those who are interested in dialogue here, because the Bible doesn't seem to mention Islam or the Prophet Muhammad, but the Quran refers to Christianity repeatedly. So there's always an asymmetry in dialogue. The Muslims have material to work with when they talk about Jesus. The Christians don't have scriptural material to work with when they talk about Muhammad. So what does the Quran say about Christianity? Well, sometimes its references are favourable, sometimes they're quite reproachful. For instance, Surah 2, verse 62, those who believe, i.e. the Muslims, and those who are Jews, and the Christians, and the Sabians, we don't need to know who those are for our purposes, whoever believes in God and the last day and acts uprightly, they shall have their reward from their Lord. So apparently a very pluralistic, open statement. Another verse reads, this is Surah 5, verse 82, you will find the closest in love to the believers to be those who say, we are Christians. That is because among them are priests and monks, and because they are not proud. It's quite possible, and many of the Muslim commentators support this, that this verse was revealed shortly after the first Muslims in Mecca had made their migration to Christian Abyssinia. They were received very warmly and given the protection of the Christian king, the Negus. So this verse may be a reflection of that. Another verse, we, i.e. God, gave Jesus the gospel, and in the hearts of his followers we set kindness and mercy. And monasticism, that they invented, we did not prescribe it for them, though they were only desiring to please God, but they did not observe it aright. This is Surah 57, verse 27. In this passage we see a kind of ambiguous criticism of monasticism, which was an enormously important institution in the Middle East at the time the Quran was revealed. And the Prophet himself condemned monasticism rather more forcefully with the words, there is no monasticism in Islam. This is because ultimately Islam sees the world as not fallen, but as capable of reforming itself. Individual souls can reform themselves. The world, human society structures can reform themselves. They are not so ultimately fallen as to need direct divine intervention to do that. Hence you don't need to retreat from the world and live in a monastery if you aspire to holiness. You can do it in the world. You can go through it rather than going around it. Next verse is Surah 5, verse 14, and this is taken as a reference to the new covenant as preached by Paul. With those who say, we are Christians, we made a covenant, but they forgot a part of the admonition. So we stirred up discord and division among them until the day of resurrection. This may be a reference to the great Christological disputes which had thrown the Christian world into sectarian tumult, something that the early Muslims were particularly aware of, since the Middle East was so religiously divided at that time, with Jacobites, Nestorians, Copts, Monophysites, Orthodox, Arians, etc., etc. Perhaps some Christians themselves would agree with the Quranic view that this was some kind of divine punishment for having misunderstood the nature of Jesus. That's how it was understood.